Jack cuts the plastic bottle with a knife, inserts the gun into it, and secures it with tape. The result was a simple silencer. Jack then threatened the man on the seat, telling him to call out the people in the house or he would shoot him in the leg. The man was scared by Jack's threat and got up to call for help as Jack asked him to do. But unbeknownst to Jack's group, they laughed because Jack's operation just now was totally bluffing the man. The next second, the person they wanted to see came out from the room. Lucy raised her gun and greeted the woman in front of her. Last night, Jack brought the assassin to the trading place to find out if Swan was responsible for killing his comrade. As soon as the assassin walked into the abandoned warehouse, a violent explosion ran through Boston, and the assassin was instantly annihilated. Jack and Kelly frowned in place when they saw what happened. Soon several people gathered together. According to the clues we have now, Swan's suspicion seems to have increased. But Jack still doesn't want to believe that the dead comrades are related to Swan. Tanner is the only one who can see through it, because he understands that even if Swan didn't kill his comrade, he is definitely involved in this incident. While the men were arguing, Sheriff Gill also approached them. He told the crowd that the bomb squad had found the remains of an IED fitted with a mixing wire at the scene, and said that the person who had installed the bomb was an expert, most likely professionally trained, or a retired soldier. Jack knows that Gilasso is talking about Swan, but offers a rebuttal. Just then, Sheriff Gilasso's mobile phone rings. He picked it up and spoke briefly before hanging up. It was from his men. They've spotted New Age Operations Director Burns' car in northern Manhattan. Jack was ready to go and ask Gilasso if he wanted to come along. Gilasso said he had to meet someone first. Soon enough, they found the car. It's covered in tickets, which means it's been parked here for a long time. Kelly searched the car, but found nothing. Lucy thought that the person might have abandoned the car and fled. Jack said, "If I were her, I'd go to the toilet and get something to eat." Then they looked at the convenience store nearby. They spotted Burns on the surveillance camera. She not only bought her daughter a drink and a hot dog, but also a disposable mobile phone, so it was clear that she was well prepared for her escape. But that's when Kelly noticed the game console in Burns' daughter's hand. She asked the clerk to zoom in on the video and discovered that the game the girl was playing in her hand was called Nintendo. Kelly said if they could find out the girl's gamer name, they could use the device to lock onto the other person's IP address. After that, they immediately went to Burns' home. Kelly searched and found the girl's gamer name on the TV at Burns' house, but she was using this name to play a lot of cross-platform games. Kelly was going to use her own account to log into these games so that she could see them as soon as they were online. Jack thought it was a long process, so after saying goodbye to a few people, he went upstairs alone with the intention of having a good night's sleep. As a result, not long after he had laid down, Lucy pushed open the door and came in. She was talking to herself while still taking off her clothes. The rest of the scene is a little bit more graphic, so I chose to watch it alone. Afterwards, the two of them started talking, and Jack revealed his feelings to Lucy. He said that after all the things around him are finished, he said that when he was done with everything around him, he would go to a beautiful city and get a job and live the rest of his life simply, and told Lucy that if she was willing to go with him, it would be an even better ending. Lucy is happy to hear Jack say that and agrees to Jack's proposal. At the same time, Gil also finds his father's only friend in the police force, Sergeant Mora, because he remembers that he only told Mora about Jack and the gang's trip to Boston. Now that Jack and the gang are attacked, it's obvious that Mora betrayed them, but Mora got angry when she heard Gilasso's words and started screaming angrily. He was using this method to hide his inner fear. Mora said he was approached by Mike, the security director of New Age. They offered themselves a lot of money and asked him about the investigation of the case and the location of Jack's man. At first, Gilasso was just guessing. Now it's confirmed that it was Sheriff Mora who sold them out. Now Gilasso was furious. The police have worked so hard for this city, and now they've ruined their image because of assholes like Mora. Mora was poked and prodded and called him out for losing more colleagues in one day than he'd lost in a lifetime. When they give you money, there's no way you can refuse. Refuse them and you'll be killed. So they came to me and I took the money. He didn't want to be like his father, who was killed by others for refusing to take bribes, so he chose to compromise and cooperate. Gilasso was very disappointed when he heard this. He felt ashamed for his father to have such a friend, and turned away directly after saying this. On the other hand, Kelly has also locked Burns' address by now, only to enter the door and see a scene that makes her embarrassed. But Jack didn't react. He just asked Kelly to find out the details. At this moment, Burns is drinking with his best friend, but then he realizes that the sprinklers in his yard are working on their own. So he left Burns to go out and check it out. But just as he stepped out of the yard, Jack took control of him. Jack took him to the underground garage and told him to call Burns out. But the man's mouth is quite tough, and he doesn't want to talk to Jack at all. Jack did not say anything after hearing this. He found an empty bottle from the rubbish bin next to him, came to the countertop and cut the bottle with a knife, stuffed the pistol into it, and fixed it with tape. A simple silencer was made. Jack threatened to shoot the man in the leg if he didn't tell him to come out. The man was instantly frightened by Jack's actions and hurriedly got up and followed Jack's request to the door, shouting Burns' name, saying he needed her help. Jack and his gang are actually happy to hear this, because they can't believe that their own random device. The other party actually believed it. The next thing they know, Burns is in front of them. Lucy greets her with a gun in her hand. Jack asks why he gave them the address of the ambush. But when Burns heard this, she said she didn't know anything about it. She told them that their security director knew about Kelly and Lucy's investigation, and that Mike asked Burns to give Kelly and Lucy that address. Tanner comes forward and asks if Mike was the mastermind, not Swan. Burns says that Swan is the one who tried to organize this, and if you know him, he would never be involved in something like this. Jack, however, says that some of us don't know each other. It turns out that Burns was the one who set up Swan's entry into the New Age, because she knew that the security department of New Era is full of black ops and it's very chaotic inside. So she put Swan in there to know what the other side is doing. And Swan was really competent, often telling herself about suspicious things she found out. Jack knew all the clues they knew, except that he didn't know Burns' role in the affair. Much to Burns' surprise, Burns rushes to explain that he wasn't involved until Swan approached him. Burns told the crowd she found that the number of chips uploaded to the Little Wing software that were flagged as defective far exceeded their normal yield rate. The quality control department couldn't figure out why the chips were failing at such a high rate, but the management didn't pay much attention to it in order to fulfill the orders for Little Wings in time. And since most of the chips tested well, the management didn't pay much attention to it. But Swan thinks someone in production is manipulating the test boards and marking the working chips as defective. Jack asked Burns who was involved. Burns doesn't know anything. Lucy then opens her mouth and guesses that there were 650 defective chips. Burns says yes. Burns asks Swan to report her findings to Mike, because at the time, she didn't know Mike, the head of security, was involved. But Swan was cautious. He wanted to dig deeper and said he'd get a couple of trusted friends in the army to help out. Jack asked her if Swan had told her what he'd found out. Burns says she never heard from him again before he disappeared. Lucy says Swan signed off on the delivery yesterday. Burns is surprised that Swan is still alive. Tanner says he's still alive, but he's supposedly being controlled and made to take the fall for this. Burns says she was called into Mike's office shortly after Swan disappeared. Mike asks Burns to use his position as director of operations to help him cover up Swan's revelations. Lucy discovers that Burns took money from the other side. Burns explains that if she doesn't take it, he'll endanger her family. She couldn't take it, so she just chose to run away. Now it's all clear. Swan is still the same Swan they all know. He hasn't betrayed us. He's just under control now. After getting the information he wanted, Jack said the man could leave. Hearing this, the man immediately got up and walked to the door. The man still can't help but curse out at Burns, telling her to get out of his house and go out and stay in a hotel. With this information to back him up, Jack has also come up with a way to deal with Mike. Soon Mike receives a phone call from Burns. She told Mike that the two women who came to the company to investigate with a few men had been blocking her. She and her daughter had been threatened. Mike asked Burns what she had told them. Burns said she hadn't said anything. She was afraid they'd find out she was lying and come back for her. But Mike said that if she did what he said, not only would she and her daughter be safe, and when it was all over, she'd get a big payday. He told Burns to send him the address, and he'd send someone to pick them up soon. Burns said she was using a payphone because she was worried about being traced, so she'd just keep going. Mike said there was no problem. Jack then took Burns and her daughter to Sheriff Gilasso. They're going to try to capture Mike, and Burns and his daughter are the bait. Burns will be working with his own team. So in the meantime, Gilasso had to keep Burns' daughter safe. Gilasso's upset that he's become a bodyguard. Jack said that Mike will definitely bring 4 of his men with him when he goes out, and then his whole team will be focused on Mike. So now Gilasso is the only one left who can do the job. Gilasso took one look at Burns and her daughter at the bottom of the stairs, and finally chose to accept the mission. Jack was so grateful for what Sheriff Gilasso had done. He said that when they fought, he would let Gilasso throw the first punch. Gilasso said, "You don't need to let me. Just trust me, friend." Burns, after comforting his daughter, followed Jack and his gang away, and soon they arrived at a car park. Kelly told Burns to put his phone on speakerphone and be ready to take orders. Burns agreed and slipped his mobile phone into his coat pocket. Soon after, Mike brought his men to the location where they had agreed to meet Burns. Gilasso was ready to leave with the little girl, but as soon as the car started, he noticed that a black car on the side of the road had its lights on at the same time. Gilasso knew something was wrong, so he told the girl to get in the back seat. As soon as the car started, As soon as the car started, the gunman attacked Gilosso's car. A barrage of bullets exploded into his car. Gilosso told the girl not to look up and drove quickly outside, while calling Jack to tell him about his situation. Jack tells everyone to evacuate. Burns thinks something is going on and starts to panic. Mike realizes something is wrong and orders his men to take out Burns. Jack quickly rushes out and shoots Burns while dragging him away. When Mike saw Jack, he ordered his men to fire on both of them. Lucy and Tanner, who were standing on top of the bus, returned to fire. Kelly went to the side of the bus and drove out to meet them. But just as they were about to pull out, Jack pulled out all the bullets. Lucy told him to get in the car, but Jack said he had things to take care of. Jack said he could stay alone. The other side has automatic firearms, and Gilosso is alone with a child, so he needs firepower support. As soon as they finished talking, their car came under heavy fire. Mike orders his men to take out Jack first, ignoring Burns, who is a bigger threat. At this moment, the killer is still up putting on Gilosso. Both parties are chasing each other frantically on the avenue. Soon Kelly calls Gilosso and they agree to head towards Queens, New York together, and in the process, they will try to intercept each other's vehicles. Will Jack be able to take down Mike? Will they be able to save their comrade Swan from being taken over? I am Zero Sense Film. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment and subscribe to my channel. See you in the next video.